This shows who he really is, after all I have done for him. These were the words of Sergio Perez immediately after crossing the finish line and in post-race interviews at the Brazilian Grand Prix. While we all should be talking about the resurgence of Mercedes and George Russell's first win, some inter-team drama at Red Bull came to the surface at the end of the race. Perez, being on slower and older medium tyres at the end of the race due to not pitting under the second safety car, meant he was a sitting duck with 10 laps to go. He got overtaken by Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc and even Fernando Alonso. He was also overtaken by Max Verstappen on fresher, quicker soft tyres. But he was told particularly not to fight Max, even though the race was coming to an end. Now here's where things get spicy. This position was given to Max under the condition that if he couldn't overtake Alonso, then he would give the position back to Checo to ensure he would go into the last race of the season at Abu Dhabi ahead on points of Charles Leclerc, thus giving him the advantage to finish second in the Drivers' Championship. Now, this position is mostly meaningless to most drivers and teams up and down the paddock. There is no prize money attached to finish second in the Drivers' Championship, but Red Bull in particular have never had a clean sweep of championships. That means finishing first in the Constructors and having a 1-2 in the Drivers' Championships. It is something that as a team they would like to achieve, and it seems Checo would as well. But Max is clearly not fussed because he refused multiple times to give the position back to Checo at the end of the race. This now means that Sergio Perez goes into the last race of the year level on points with Charles Leclerc. Now Max, at the end of the race, when asked by his engineer what happened, responded with, "I told you already last summer. You guys don't ask that again to me, okay? Are we clear about that? I gave my reasons and I stand by it." And well, as you can imagine, this sent the rumour mill into overdrive. With Checo's response on the radio and in subsequent post-race interviews as well, it was clear for all to see, away from the track and at the paddock, that all is not well in the Red Bull camp. So what caused Max to say what he did, and so publicly too? Well, soon after, word was flying around online and at the paddock that back in Monaco this year, where Checo crashed in Q3, bringing out a red flag, he supposedly admitted to personnel in the Red Bull team that he did this on purpose. Now, this rumour has come from a Dutch journalist who supposedly was told by another Dutch racing driver, so make of that what you will in regards to the reliability of that source and information. But apparently, Max, upon finding out this, had supposedly been keeping a grudge against Checo since Monaco. We all know how difficult it is to overtake at Monaco, and that qualifying is more important there than any other circuit on the calendar. To add salt to the wounds as well, back in Monaco this year, Max was on a lap in Q3 that could have secured pole, hence his supposed anger. Now, just to add fuel to the fire, there has been telemetry that has come to light of that crash back in Monaco, and it does look like Checo, when a side-by-side comparison is done of previous laps, he did slam the throttle, and the input would cause a crash that we saw at Portier, the corner where this occurred. Whereas on previous laps, a gradual pressing of the accelerator can be seen, which is more normal. Make of that what you will, whether it was intentional or not, we will never know. Was it a slip on the throttle? Was there other circumstances? It is definitely irregular and not something that we're used to seeing. But if you're looking for motive, this was the race after Perez was asked to move over at Barcelona to allow Max Verstappen to win. Barcelona was only the 6th race of the season, and many, myself included, thought at the time this is very early on in the season to be implementing team orders. But it also reiterated to all of us fans, but most importantly, Perez, there is no doubt who is number one at Red Bull. But you can see why Perez would be aggrieved at this decision and the result of this race. He got to P1 on his own merit, and that race win should have been fought out on track, as it has done with other teammates before. So this brings us back to today. Max has not let Checo by. By all accounts, the place is meaningless to Max. He has 2 Drivers' Championships now, has the most wins of all time, the most points. Why has he not let Checo pass? As many have said, it is incredibly short-sighted by Max. He has potentially now ruined a relationship with Checo. And what reason does Checo now have to ever listen to team orders again? and help Max out. Checo is actually right in what he's saying in his post-race interviews. After all I have done for him, Max wouldn't be where he is today with 2 World Championships without Checo's help. So let's take a look at where Checo has actually helped Max out, specifically last year in 2021. No matter how you look at it, in regards to the controversial circumstances that championship was won, Max and Lewis went into that last race level on points, and that would not have been possible without Checo's help. Here's how. In Baku, Sergio held off Lewis until Max's tyre blew up down the main straight. There was a potential for a haul of points for Lewis until upon the second restart, he went long with the infamous brake magic button and finished eventually outside of the points, when Perez went on to take the eventual win. In France, due to Perez's position on track, Hamilton was not able to make a free pit stop. Hamilton had to stay out on track. Max caught him up and eventually passed Hamilton to take the win. At Silverstone, he took a much needed point from Hamilton with the fastest lap. As we know, every point mattered in this championship last year. In Turkey, Perez put on a valiant display of defence, defending through that chicane. Who can forget it? Going around the cone of the pit stop and holding Hamilton's charge up, so he only finished in 5th position. Max finished 2nd. Once again, a big difference in points there. Austin and Kota Hamilton made a pit stop too soon to prevent the undercut, and Max ended up winning, once again due to Perez's position on track. In Brazil, he takes another fastest lap away from Hamilton, and then in Abu Dhabi, who can forget that defence holding him up for 10 seconds, and if it wasn't for that defence from Perez, Hamilton most likely would have had a free pit stop gap at the front of the field, and with that eventual safety car, if that's the way it played out, he would have been on fresh soft tyres, able to defend Verstappen at the end as it ended up, rather than on really old hard tyres. And arguably, he has helped Max a number of times this year on his way to a 2nd World Championship. He has been the perfect wingman for Max and is the person Max has been waiting for some time, because his other teammates weren't up to scratch. But I now believe that this bridge has well and truly been burned. We've seen the beginning of the end of their relationship, and this time it's in the public eye for all of us to see. Things are clearly tense between the two camps. Max's mum has even responded to comments online attacking Perez for his alleged infidelities back in Monaco when he won that race. This is a low blow for any party and has absolutely nothing to do with what is happening out on track. I don't think we've heard the last of this, and I hope Perez doesn't take this line down. I hope he goes for those race wins next year, ignores a few more team orders, because you're clearly not going to get that reciprocated from the other side of the garage. Clearly, Max is Red Bull's #1 driver, and I translated his radio message after the race and his post-race interviews as pretty much, I run this team. Christian Horner and Helmut Marko really need to bring Max down to earth a little bit. Yes, he's a double world champion, but there's a level of sportsmanship that is at least required in F1. Yes, it is very much an individual sport. The Drivers' Championship is what most fans care about, but we also are fans of the teams. And no one driver is bigger than the team. And to be honest, guys, this is what happens though when a driver is surrounded by yes men and women, because that's what Max has been surrounded by. No one has ever really told him no while he's been growing up. He's the best thing since sliced bread. And do you know what? Even your own fans, mate, are not happy with the way that you treated Checo this weekend. So let me know what you think. Do you think Max was totally within his right to do what he did? Do you not? Do you think he needs to be brought down to earth a little bit? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm interested to hear what everyone's opinions are. So remember to hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Turn those notifications on, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.